Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and today we're diving into the beta of the upcoming tactical cRPG from the folks over at Owlcat, set in the Warhammer 40K universe. Dark Heresy is based off of one of my favorite tabletop RPG systems, and if you're a fan of generally lethal settings, a mix of action and social gameplay with a layer of political intrigue over top of it all, or any of the past cRPGs from Owlcat, especially Rogue Trader, this one's probably going to be right up your alley too. I just want to give a huge thanks to Owlcat before we dive in for providing me with a key to the beta so I can show it off on the channel, but do make sure to check out the store page on Steam to see how you can get access to the beta for yourself. My plan right now is to do maybe just a few episodes while the game is in its beta phase, and then come back to it when it releases in full, but if you feel differently, let me know down below. Leave a like and a comment if you'd like to see more episodes of Dark Heresy's beta on the channel. Now, without further ado, and with timestamps down below so you can skip past things like character creation if you so wish, let's begin. And as we begin, the first thing I want to say is that I actually have not played this game at all before this episode. I haven't touched the alpha, I haven't previewed the beta, I haven't given myself a little dry run so I know what's going on. I've just taken a look at character creation so that we're not spending 4 hours doing that today, but ultimately we're going to be experiencing everything together, and that should be a lot of fun. I also want to note that the beta doesn't currently have full voice acting, but apparently the full game will, so for the time being you're going to hear a lot of me talking and reading out massive paragraphs of dialogue, as is the Owlcat way, but in the future there is going to be voice acting, which is absolutely great to hear. Anyway, let's go ahead and click that new game button finally, and just dive in on normal difficulty, I think. Lots of options we can tweak, but let's keep things simple for the time being, and hopefully push right into, yes, character creation. Now, these are some gorgeous portraits, some great options available to us. Those of you that are familiar with the channel, familiar with me, might know which way I'm already leaning, because I have indeed already hovered over it. This guy is just irresistible to me. He's such a vibe, you know? So we're going to go ahead and be him. And I think in that portrait alone, you can kind of tell the kind of options I want to go for, the kind of like dialogue decisions I'll be making and things like that, so this one's quite evocative for me. So we're going to be him, and pragmatic male I think is the right voice for the guy.
Violence it is then. Better your blood than mine. Seeking the advantage. Always on the move. Violence it is then.
Sounds about right, right? Zealous male is a little bit, I mean, it's great voice acting, but it's a little over the top. You know, not 100% all up there, right? So pragmatic male it shall be. And when we're looking at archetypes, we got a couple of options. Again, I'm not going to go over all of these in an extreme amount of detail or anything like that. If you'd like something like that, if you would like a full breakdown of character creation, then I can look at making a scripted video like that. But for the time being, I'm just going to briefly hover all of these options and land on what's going to be my pick and focus on that. Now we're going to be playing as a psyker, and that leads us to the Mystic archetype. The Mystic is a sanctioned psyker who delves deep into the powers of the warp. They're able to push their own power far beyond the limits of other, less skilled psykers and gain access to a wider variety of abilities. Now, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Warhammer 40K universe, I'm going to try to avoid using IP-specific terminology where possible, because I don't want you to be dissuaded from checking out the game, because, again, Owlcat cRPGs are just cool all the time. But with that said, obviously it's going to be impossible to avoid, you know, IP-specific terminology a lot of the time. So hopefully context will make obvious what we're talking about, what we're doing, what's going on. In this specific case, though, because it's so critical to our character, and in the interest of explaining why I want to play as a psyker, let me just take a quick moment to explain, and hopefully I'll get the lore all right, because, you know, I'm not as familiar with some of the newer editions and things like that, though I'm pretty sure psykers have been the same throughout. Nonetheless, psykers are basically the casters of this universe, and in order to gain access to their magical abilities, so to speak, they need to tap into something called the warp, also known as the immaterium. It's got a few different names, but regardless of what you call it, it's a fairly dangerous parallel plane of existence where all the bad things are. That's where all the demons and stuff come from. It's not a good time. So it's fairly dangerous to cast spells in the world of Warhammer 40K. However, it's the only way to do so. Now, what makes this particularly interesting is that there is a veil between our world and the warp. And the thinner that veil is, the more powerful your abilities can be. And that's why there's this mechanic called Veil Degradation that you can see listed under the push ability right here. And there's an extra layer of consideration there. There's an extra layer of risk and reward. There's just so much more to think about in very specific ways here that doesn't apply to other classes. And I find these to be particularly interesting. I always have, again, I mentioned previously, one of my favorite tabletop role-playing systems. I've always found this stuff fascinating. I want to see how it gets adapted into the cRPG. And though it'll probably be quite similar to how Rogue Trader did it, I want to see if it does take a slightly different approach or anything like that. Nonetheless, we're going with the Mystic archetype, and just briefly going to take a look at this chart over here, which of course leans towards psychic ability. It'd be rather silly if this wasn't our forte. But when we're not tapping into our unique ability to threaten our party's existence by poking at the warp, we're going to act sort of in a support role, or if we're trying to cause damage without the use of our psychic abilities, we'll lean slightly towards ranged capabilities as opposed to melee. Just wanted to highlight this a little bit, and otherwise highlight our push ability, which says before the Mystic uses the next psychic power, Veil Degradation is increased by +3. Again, the more degraded the Veil is, the thinner the Veil is, the more powerful our abilities will be. But the flip side is that with a thinner veil, with a more degraded veil, there's a higher chance of something coming through said veil. And that's where the risk comes in compared to the reward. Again, I'm not going to go over every little bit of information that's over here. We'll talk about these as they become relevant through play, because I'm not trying to spend 4 hours in character creation, even when I have all of my decisions in mind, and we're already going slower than I'd anticipated. So with our archetype picked, let's move on to choosing our specialization. Now, take a look at these options and just take a look at this portrait, and I think it might be obvious which way I'm leaning. Dude standing over here, warm tones, he's smoking a cigarette, low stick, I believe they're called in universe. He's obviously into pyromancy, right? Obviously, this is a set of abilities that have to do with fire, and the starting ability here is Firestorm. The character makes a scorching area attack, dealing damage and applying burning to every unit affected. Just hovering over this one in particular to highlight a couple of things here. You can see that each unit in a 2-cell radius around the target cell suffers willpower bonus plus perception bonus plus veil degradation damage and must pass reflexes test, blah, 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 blah. I'm highlighting this to point out that willpower and perception are going to be critical to us, and in particular, willpower is going to be essential to us as what strengthens or otherwise gives force behind our abilities. Just pointing that out for when we get to upgrading our characteristics and things like that. Nonetheless, Firestorm is our starting ability. A couple others locked through progression. Again, we'll go over them as they become relevant. Moving on, we get to choose our origin. Now, as a psyker, there are certain rules to how we have had to live our life. Again, being a psyker, as you could probably tell, is extremely dangerous. You don't just leave psykers out and about, and if you're found to be a psyker, you tend to be taken away, regardless of how young you might be. People are naturally inclined to being psykers. I'm not sure if you can learn or train to become a psyker. I can't recall, to be perfectly honest, but generally people have this innate ability to tap into the warp or the immaterium and become psykers. So if it's found out that you are like that, typically you're taken away and you're taken away. Let's leave it at that. So we only have one origin available to us, at least at this point in time. The others, let's take a quick look at them, just so you can see them briefly, and then we'll move on as a sanctioned psyker. There's the Astra Militarum, there's the Imperial Noble, and there's the Criminal. And you can see, must not have features, Mystic. So we're barred from using these, but I do want to quickly point out this hilarious Wicked Scorn ability as an Imperial Noble. The character saps morale from the target enemy just by talking smack. I love it. Anyway, Sanctioned Psyker is what we are, and that gives us the Fetter ability. The character can reduce Veil Degradation and avoid triggering psychic phenomena with the next use of a psychic power. Again, psychic phenomena or perils of the warp, those are the threats that come in from beyond the other side of this veil. Otherwise, you can see how our options modify our characteristics. I didn't mention that previously, but you can see that's going on over here. And as a Sanctioned Psyker, we're actually able to choose another specialization. Now here we have two options from the three from earlier, Sanctic and Telekinesis. Again, I want you to take a look at this portrait. And you can tell me, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't get sanctic vibes from this guy. He's not very blood of the martyrs. He's not very sword of faith, right? He's pyromancy first, and then through obligation, perhaps he taps into his telekinesis, right? Now this gives us the assail ability. The character attacks targets at a long distance, immobilizing them. And here again, you can see how veil degradation and stuff applies. This doesn't get influenced by our willpower bonus or a perception bonus or anything like that, but veil degradation does still apply over here. So just trying to point out a couple of differences here and there. Down the line, we'll get access to various other abilities that you can see again bring in the willpower bonus, but in this case, intelligence bonus has an influence. And in the case of the telekinetic dome, again, willpower bonus plus intelligence bonus. So it's not always the same, but that willpower is going to be critical to us all throughout. That's just kind of the core of being a psyker. Moving on, let's take a look at our homeworld options. Now, there are a few cool options available to us over here. I'm not going to go with the Forge world. I have a very specific image of Forge worlds, and I know they're a little flanderized, I suppose, but I'm gonna not go with the Forge world over here. So our choices are between the Hive world and the Death world. Both of these are interesting in their own ways, but honestly, I feel like we see Hive worlds quite frequently. They're in all sorts of Warhammer media, and as interesting as they are, I think I'm leaning towards the Death World choice over here. It's just cool. It's just this very dark, brooding character. I'm feeling Death World. The chance to suffer critical effects is significantly reduced. If resisted successfully, the character gains morale. And again here, of course, this influences some of our characteristics and skills and things like that, and we'll gain access to more things through progression. Moving on then is the specific brand of Death World. Radioactive wastelands, jungle, volcanicity, toxic wastelands, and frozen wastes. I mean, again, thinking about our portrait, this one feels like the obvious pick, right? Now, if we went with radioactive wastelands, it increases our athletics. If we went with jungle, our awareness. Toxic wastelands are Medicae, frozen wastes are tenacity. All feel, in various ways, more important than our demolition ability, but hey, it is what it is. Volcanicity it is. And finally, we get to upgrade our characteristics. Now, again, I'm not going to delve too deeply into the workings of the system unless you guys want me to in future episodes. So I'm just going to go in and make some picks and explain my decisions as to why I'm making them. Each pick over here will increase the characteristic by 5. And as you may have already noticed, we've been talking about willpower bonus quite a bit. Now, when we say willpower bonus, we're talking about the first number in the characteristic. So here our willpower bonus is 4. By bumping this up, our willpower bonus is now 5. So that threshold being crossed is quite critical for a few different reasons. And wherever possible, we're going to go ahead and do that. And again, our perception is important for our pyromancy, and our intelligence is important for our telekinesis, and our willpower is important across the board. So these three feel like the obvious picks. And then toughness is probably not a bad idea. Increasing toughness affects our maximum wounds, which is our HP, adding plus 10 times toughness bonus % to its total. So again, you can see toughness bonus having an important influence. Typically, the bonus has a huge influence when it comes to abilities or other attributes, whereas the full number has an impact when it comes to rolling dice and success chances. So, you know, it's a D100 system, so if we're rolling a perception check, just a flat perception check, we currently have a 50% chance of succeeding, but if we go up to 55, now we have a 55% chance of succeeding, and that's, you know, without considering modifiers and things like that. Nonetheless, what else do I want here? Like I said, we lean a bit towards our ranged capabilities when we're not using our psychic abilities, and so I do wonder if it doesn't make sense to bring our ballistic skill up to 40. That where a ballistic skill bonus is 4, and generally, if for some reason we're trying not to use our psychic abilities, you know, like let's say there's too much risk of something coming through from the warp, maybe we switch to our ranged capabilities, right? Seems to make sense to me. Now we are foregoing. I can't I can't not increase fellowship. Again, look at this guy. He's obviously charming in his own way, right? Though he does also have a giant combat shotgun, if I'm recognizing that correctly. Here, let's go ahead and do something a little inefficiently and split that last 10 into 2 5s, upgrade our ballistic skill a bit, upgrade our fellowship a bit. Again, suboptimal, but folks, before we dive in, I guess it's worth me saying, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the channel, I don't min-max my RPGs. I lean heavily into the RP side of an RPG, and even when I'm not playing RPGs, I like to roleplay when I'm playing video games. It allows me to make, intentionally make suboptimal choices that often lead to more interesting storytelling, and that's what I'm in it for. Again, I want to be clear, I got nothing against people who min-max. It's a different style of play, so it's not a judgment call or anything like that, but personally, I enjoy role-playing. I enjoy thinking about where my character comes from, what their aspirations are, and what kind of decisions they'd make accordingly. So sometimes you'll see some suboptimal decision making, but it's very much intentional. Sometimes you'll see some suboptimal decision making, and it's because I've made a poor choice. I mean, I'm not infallible, right? Nonetheless, I wanted to explain that quickly before we get into it, and you start seeing some of that in action more and more. Finally, though, I think we have to take a look at our appearance. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Again, I'm just planning on doing a few episodes here, folks, so we're not going to spend the hours upon hours that one could on this, though I do have some choices in mind. For example, that glorious beard. I mean, this is also a glorious beard, but we're going to go with this one. And otherwise, sure, black hair. It's a good look. I don't mind that haircut either, to be perfectly honest. Body type. We got a few different body types available to us. Going to flip through these really quickly so you can see them. And I'm going to go with kind of like your average tall guy. A few different body types as well. Oh, I see. So let's go ahead and bring our beard back. Keep our hair the way it is. This is the body I wanted. Yep. And face. And how often am I going to be looking at this thing? Yeah, sure. I said I'm not going to spend time on this, and immediately here we are. Now, as is classic, we got a couple of options for scars. Oh, there's no option for no scars. You know what? That fits. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, it looked like everything had scars. Then, of course, there are options for tattoos. I mean, some of these are pretty slick. You know what? Here, let's go with these. It feels symbolic. I like them, as opposed to these more prison tattoo vibes, right? Sure, let's go with these. And there are also augmentations that we can get. I'm thinking as a pyromancer, we maybe don't want to have metal attached to our flesh quite like this, so we're going to go with no augmentation. Though actually I want to point out quickly that you can get 2 sets of augmentations if you wanted to. So a decent bit of customization available here. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and stick with no augmentations for us. And generally, yeah, this feels good. Quite a few options. These are the ones we're going to stick with. We've had... oh, you know what? Actually, I guess we do have a chin augmentation. Is that actually even an option here? And there's this, but it also gives us a forehead augmentation. Is it this? I guess it's that. How closely do I have to match this? Can I grow a beard with that? Is that the augmentation? It's the beard. You know what? Yeah, sure. Sure, why not? Little singed beard over here. Maybe the augmentation keeps it protected. Nonetheless, here is our result. I have to pick a name. Always the most challenging aspect of developing a character. We're going to go... I think I've used this name in the past for other cRPGs. We're going to go with PartyElite. Obviously, it's just a reference to party. With a slight affectation. We're from a death world. We're a sanctioned psyker. We're a mystic. Pyromancy and telekinesis are our bread and butter. And you know what? We've come a long way since these days, I suppose. Can only match the portrait so much, right? Nonetheless, let's finally begin, shall we? Your aching joints are twisted to their limit, locked in manacles. It is hard to breathe. The bitter scent of sacred incense fills your nostrils and throat, making you lightheaded. Inhale. A sharp pain echoes from the ribs broken during the interrogation. Exhale. A swollen artery at your temple throbs in time with the scratching of the Tarantine Cabal Arc Transcriptor's cognitator quill. The attention of those present is fixed upon you, but you cannot tear your gaze from the dark eye sockets of the golden mask looming over the stands. Arc Transcriptor. Session 28004332 Iota Pi of the Cabal is now convened. Subject of the session: the loss of the vessel Schultus Valor. The loss of 86% of Terminus Omega Warband, including servants of the Golden Throne of mid and high rank. Acolyte Iratus Zev, status deceased. Acolyte Persephone Shriek, status deceased. Inquisitor Leander de Terral, status deceased. The accused, PartyElite. Why does my whole body ache? Do I know all these people? Why am I the only one answering at this hearing? Yeah, feels right. Why am I the only one answering at this hearing? Of course, as soon as the verdict reached the docks of the Bastion Serpentis, the few who survived the slaughter aboard Schultus' Valor were isolated for debriefing. Standard procedure. The remarkable thing is that after confirming the death of Inquisitor de Terral, they're still willing to hear you out. According to witness testimony, Terminus Omega Warband bears partial responsibility for the loss of the Holy Inquisition's mechanical, informational, and human resources. The death of the Inquisitor, however, is the sole responsibility of the Acolyte. Accused, do you deny your guilt? What transpired was a sequence of unforeseeable circumstances. I acted as the situation demanded. Sounds about right. The primary objective of the warband was the transportation of a classified asset. I fulfilled my duty to the Cabal and Imperium. I like the kind of I did my job. Inquisitor de Terral's death is my fault. Okay, that doesn't vibe at all with this guy. The mission was under command of higher-ranking agents, including Interrogator Tuma Ordus. What happened is their responsibility. No. This guy controls his own destiny. This guy controls his own destiny as much as he can. What transpired was a sequence of unforeseeable circumstances. I acted as the situation demanded. Shoots from the hip. I like it. Again, we're using this to kind of determine who we are as a person, I think. In comes Inquisitor Millicentilia. Oh, undoubtedly. Leander's death was a great and noble sacrifice. The projection of the woman in massive armor dissolves into a hexagonal grid and immediately reforms. And also a painful blow to the strength of the Tarantine Cabal. Everyone present understands this. Interrogator Lucin de Ferranis. With all due respect to the Cabal, I would beg leave to ask the Acolyte a different question. I propose we address another portion of the testimonies gathered and the remnants of data extracted from the Servo Ossuarium, specifically those regarding the causes behind the fall of Schultus' Valor. Inquisitor Soldavan wishes to know, are you certain of the version of events you have put forward? Answer, Acolyte PartyElite. A probing, unblinking gaze studies your face. There was no doubt in the Inquisitor's mind. The destruction of Schultus' Valor was caused by a band of heretic Astartes. Oh, wow, okay. Starting with some Chaos Marines right off the bat. The Inquisitor was convinced that heretic Astartes were somehow involved. In truth, I doubt his conclusion. I am not certain. It all happened so quickly, and my memory may be failing me. That doesn't sound right. Would my opinion change anything? Schultus' Valor is destroyed, along with all the evidence. Oh, yeah, this guy's got an attitude problem for sure. Would my opinion change anything? Schultus' Valor is destroyed, along with all the evidence. It is hard to dispute the rather doomed nature of this investigation, and yet... Amazi's Servo Emissary. Inquisitor Amazi's voice, streaming from the servitor's vox, cuts through the tense pause. The truly remarkable fact in this entire affair is that the Acolyte survived direct exposure to the light of the Tyrant Star. Let PartyElite recount his experience now, lest the knowledge be lost to sudden madness or some other consequence. Now here we're introduced to, I believe, yes, the alignment, let's call it. Monodominant, an uncompromising exterminator of even the slightest signs of heresy, driven by the high ideals of duty, service to the God Emperor's will, and self-sacrifice. Yeah, nah, that ain't it, Chief. And a Malathean, a staunch believer in the God Emperor's grand design, the fulfillment of which demands unity and accord within the endless ranks of the Imperium's organizations and from humanity as a whole. Okay? And then on this end, we've got... so there's 4 corners, I suppose, to the alignment chart, and we'll get into it maybe when we first level up or something. But for now, let's just take a look at these four corners. Xenos Hybris, an adherent of the necessity of xenotech research and cooperation with Xenos for the sake of achieving the goals of the Imperium. Sorry, I keep thinking about the Imperium. And Xanathite, a faithful servant of the God Emperor who believes that the forces of the arch-enemy can and must be used for the benefit of the Imperium. For in their righteous hands, those very forces will become a weapon of truth. Now, these are sort of opposing approaches that the Inquisition has in dealing with heresy. Some believe that heresy can be used as a weapon against the heretic. Others believe that, even thinking that thought should get you, cleansed with purifying fire. This guy, I think, he doesn't mind a bit of experimentation, right? I don't know if he communes with Xenos as much, but I think he's willing to use xenotech if it brings him a bigger gun, right? I think he's willing to tap into the forces of the archenemy. Again, he himself does use the warp, right? He is enabled by the warp and the dangers that come with it. So, just based on, I think, who we are as a person, we're going to go with this option. We could also say nothing, but this guy, I don't think this guy ever takes the opportunity to say nothing, right? What an interesting request. I'm glad that within the Turrentine Cabal, there remains some who understand the value of knowledge, especially of the forbidden kind. A number of approving exclamations reach your ears, as do several indignant outcries. Your response has caused unrest among the audience. While some evidently welcome your broad-mindedness, others are furious over words they consider to be tantamount to heresy. See what I mean? The Turrentine Cabal is clearly divided between those who would interpret the freedoms of the Inquisition more liberally and those who insist on strict adherence to existing prohibitions. So our alignment has shifted, +4 to Xenos Hybris and +4 to Xanathite. Now, can I actually... Nah, I'll show you a bit more about these shortly. The Arc Transcriptor says, the Inquisitor's question is accepted and admitted to the record. Answer fully and with complete candor, Acolyte. Do I remember? Oh, I could just tell the truth. I saw something strange. An auditorium filled with strangers and a hallowed figure of sorts that spoke to us. Do I see any reason to lie here? I could say I remember an endless pain, as if a vat of molten steel had been poured over me, as if every bone in my body was being shattered at once. I remember a searing light, impossible to describe with words. It eclipsed everything, but in the end only darkness remained without and within. I mean, these are quite poetic, but I think this is the time for the truth, right? That it itself is poetic in a dark way. I saw something strange. An auditorium filled with strangers, and a hallowed figure of sorts that spoke to us. An auditorium? A hallowed figure? The ravings of an afflicted mind? More data is required. Consider this. The Acolyte is either a lucky bastard who survived an impossible situation, or a complete idiot who returned to a stronghold of the Golden Throne's servants while actually being an agent of the archenemy. With evidence or without, if we execute the Acolyte now, we may forever lose vital details regarding the nature of the Hereticus Tenebrae. The most efficient course would be to extract the Acolyte's brain for a synaptic reconstruction of mnemofragments and replication of the lost memory segments pertaining to the incident. Okay, so I'm guessing Amazi here is a tech priest. I mean, I know he's sent a servo emissary, but I didn't think that necessarily meant he was a tech priest, but some of this is telling me he's a tech priest. I fulfilled the Cabal's mission as duty and protocol demanded, and now I'm being branded a murderer. I like that. There's no taint upon my soul. I survived because one of the warband pulled me out of the light of the tyrant star. Stay out of my head. I've told the Cabal everything I know, or I will humbly accept any verdict. Oh, no. This guy is not humble. I fulfilled the Cabal's mission as duty and protocol demanded, and now I'm being branded a murderer? The Lord Inquisitor speaks. Zerb? Our reality is one of eternal struggle. For resources, for survival, for hope. A reality full of pain and abhorrent choices, where nothing ever goes according to plan. In this very reality, PartyElite faced a choice. Fulfill his duty to his Inquisitor, or obey the oath he swore to all of humanity. Anyone who claims the choice was obvious is lying to themselves. The loss of Schultus' valor, of the acolytes and Leander, it is all meaningless if your bones are left to rot on a doomed planet. But PartyElite and Terminus Omega did not merely survive. They delivered the artifact into the hands of the Tyrantine Cabal. Do you truly believe that by volunteering to retrieve the artifact, Leander de Terral did not fully comprehend the significance of his mission? The Inquisitor understood better than any of us the meaning of absolute submission to one's duty, and that same resolve also took root in his acolytes. So I will ask the Cabal only once. Does PartyElite deserve retribution? So we rolled a wits test and succeeded. Occasionally in conversation, we'll have a skill check happen. That's what that little pop-up was. The fact that Lord Inquisitor Zerb himself is now your sole benefactor makes your every nerve pull tight. The favor of the mighty carries a steep price, and you have not yet been told the cost. The Grand Hall falls silent. Pale faces, clenched jaws, disapproving stares. Yet none dare to raise their voice. Then, the golden mask turns toward you, and in its dark eye sockets you finally see a glint of living, attentive eyes. Remove the chains. Henceforth, PartyElite is under my protection. An interesting solution. Well, another agent has escaped execution. Inquisitor Soldovan will be most surprised. This precedent must be recorded in the annals immediately. What a disgrace. The Lord Inquisitor never fails to amaze. Even an old something like myself. That moved too quickly for me. Alright. At first, the Lord Inquisitor's words are met only with stunned expressions, before the hall suddenly erupts in a clamor of astonished voices. Wonderful. Here, before the Tyrantine Cabal and the God Emperor, I swear my allegiance to the Lord Inquisitor. Your will is my will. Okay. I can never atone for the death of Inquisitor de Terral, but I will do everything I can to ensure his sacrifice was not in vain. I am grateful to the Cabal for its mercy, and to the Lord Inquisitor for the honor of becoming his acolyte, or what are your orders, Lord Inquisitor? Yeah, you know what? I'm done with this charade. What are your further orders, Lord Inquisitor? My, aren't we the serious one? Straight to business, without any groveling or superfluous words. Enough talk. The Cabal has matters to discuss without you, PartyElite. Report to Quartermaster Numis. He will return your gear and prepare you for your next assignment. The Lord Inquisitor makes a sharp gesture, and the guards part, clearing a path to the Grand Hall's exit. The next item on the session's agenda is... off to a good start, I'd say. We haven't been executed, so can't complain too much. And before we go any further, I just want to very quickly take a look at one thing. If I can find out how to open the character screen. There we go. Because I wanted to just briefly talk about that spread. And I figured it would be in the character screen because it has to do with our alignment. Or our convictions, I suppose. Again, this explains who we are based on decisions we've made, and I just want to highlight how this this sort of works. The points we gain will push us in the direction of various abilities, various options, I imagine, in conversation, and various features, as you can see highlighted here as well. I'm not going to go over all of these right now. Like I said, I'm going to try and stick to talking about things in depth only when they become relevant, but I just wanted to highlight this because, yeah, alignment did come up in that conversation, and I have seen, I know a little bit about how this works in the game, so I wanted to just point that out really quickly. Looks like we have leveled up, but we're going to deal with that in a bit. Let's go ahead and move along with the story ahead of us. Line the aid. A young man with a friendly face and impeccable hearing offers a salute the moment you leave the Grand Hall. Blind Silvus, Quartermaster's aide, assigned to escort you after the meeting of the Turrentine Cabal, Master Acolyte. His piercing green eyes study you with genuine interest. Why would I need an escort? I do not know. Blind looks somewhat embarrassed. For the time being, I am only an aide under the patronage of Quartermaster Numis. I run errands for him all over the Bastion Serpentis, and now I've been ordered to escort you to him in the convocation room immediately. Very well, then take me to the Quartermaster. I don't need an escort, I can handle myself, feels right, but this is also sort of that kind of faux defeatism, right? Then it's like, fine, then take me to the Quartermaster. I'm not going to make this guy's life difficult, he's just doing his job. Of course, follow me. Plus, I don't know exactly where the Quartermaster is, right? Oh, it's going to be one of those things where he moves super slowly, isn't it? Oh, man. Can I pick that up? Already trying to steal. Alright, we'll let him make some distance. Let's take a look at our options here. We've got a stub revolver. We've got a sword. And we've got ourselves a Medicaid kit. Cool. This will help heal us if we ever need to be healed. This will help us shoot things, and this will help us stab things. Okay, I guess we got to keep close. Did you know this convocation room was originally the study of one of the former inquisitors of the Cabal, an extremely secretive one? That's why the corridor leading to it is so inconspicuous. Is this inconspicuous? Oh, buddy. Come on. Okay, you know what? This is pretty... Yeah, okay, it's got to be that door. I'll let him do his job, though. I'll let him do his job, I suppose. What else we got down over here? Lots of buttons I'm curious to click, but we'll hold off on that as we have arrived. Through the doors we go. That blasted Xenos ripped him in half. And all because of those damned faulty batteries, Numis. Your informant might have lived if you could just shoot straight. Or is your lack of practice my fault, too? Dude's not having a good time. Maybe I should practice on you, you armory rat. That doesn't seem like a good idea, man. My life is the property of the Inquisition. Are you prepared to deprive the Holy Ordos of their asset? That's what I figured. Yeah, okay, didn't think so. I hope you get eaten by a Grox, Numis. Yeah, well, so these guys don't get along. Fair enough. Voxhaler goes off. To all servants of the Holy Ordos in the Bastion Serpentis, words have been spoken, decisions made, and a path charted. Session 2800432 Iota Pi of the Cabal is now concluded. Very well. May the God Emperor receive our sacred service. End of transmission. So again, hopefully in the full version of the game, this is all voice acted and it's not my voice that you're having to hear back to back to back. But onwards we go with Quartermaster Numis. A solidly built middle-aged man looks at you over exquisitely handcrafted spectacles before giving a brief nod. Quartermaster Numis, spare me the introductions. You are Partilius. I have already been briefed about you. Blind, you did well for once. The acolyte arrived on time. Blind hides a smile and casts you a look of gratitude. Ah, nice. You showed remarkable courage. What did the acolyte want from you? Or I was told you would issue me new equipment. Nah, I'm definitely a little inquisitive. I'm not incurious, right? But I'm also not going to butter this guy up. What did that acolyte want from you? Justice. And such a commodity is not available in the Inquisition's warehouses. A caustic smile flickers across Numis's face for a moment. Well, in that case, you showed remarkable courage. I like the cut of this guy's jib. You showed remarkable courage. Numis's face twists as if he has heard not praise, but something profoundly dissatisfying. I've been threatened by people far more intimidating. And far larger. Okay, geez, chill, buddy. I was told you would issue me new equipment. The quartermaster glances down at the battered data slate in his hands. It says here that Partilius is entitled to non-rotational issuance of equipment due to the unplanned depreciation of the previous set. Here, take it. The next scheduled issue is in 3 centillion years. Items received. Mantle of the Immaterium. Light armor. The wearer deals plus 20% more damage while using abilities granted by the equipped staff. Odd-looking staff. Must be a typo, but I'll take it. Is there any more detail over here? So this is specifically for psykers. Must not have features Wayseeker. As in, don't be an alien? Sure, sounds good. Furthermore, the servant of distribution block Omega 12 can't read. This distribution block Omega 12, Quartermaster Numis, is hereby instructed to assume the duties of distribution overseer in regard to any blessings issued to. He reads more closely, trailing off to muttering. When he finishes, he lifts his cold gaze to you. You've been assigned to the verdict, and I've been assigned to you. I will head to the dock once I've concluded my present business. If you wish to continue this conversation, I'll be waiting for you there. Doesn't seem too happy about it. But then again, I guess the words alone were hard to tell from. Like his mood, I suppose. Now who is this? Tuma. The interrogator's expression is unreadable in the dull light of the lumens. The painful bruises scattered across his face have taken on a yellowish-green hue, and the split above his brow is healing into yet another swollen ridge. Long time no see, Partilius. I can say you look dreadful, Master Ordos. Interrogator, it seems they let you out of the cells much sooner than me. Good to see you back on duty, or ignore him and walk past. Now, I don't know my existing relationship with him, and if I'm not mistaken, there is a prologue that isn't included in this beta, so perhaps I would have some opinion of who this guy is, but since I got only this introduction to go on, I'm going to go ahead and say... Interrogator Ordos, good to see you back on duty. So you've been cleared for further service, just like the other survivors. The Cabal certainly has a refined sense of justice. And spare me the formalities. We're of equal rank now. Thanks to your devotion to the Tyrantine Cabal's mission, the warband lost an Inquisitor. What kind of interrogator would allow such a thing to happen? Those were their exact words before they stripped me of my status. Ooh, that is rough. Usually when the Holy Ordos take your rank, they take your head along with it, but somehow you're still walking the Bastion's halls. You blame me for Master Detral's death too, so the Cabal didn't put you to death after all. I assume we'll be working together on equal footing now, since we're both acolytes. You were punished for a choice I made. That is not right. Well, you were a rather mediocre interrogator anyway. I don't see this... I don't see him being the kind of guy that... what's it called? Like, antagonizes people that he has to work with. Like, he's definitely insufferable and frustrating to work with, for sure. I'm talking about myself here. Definitely, like, you know, the kind of person you don't want to be on a group project with, but I don't think he antagonizes people, unless they've already given him reason to antagonize them. So, I suppose, well, usually when the Holy Ordos takes your rank, they take your head along with it, but somehow you're still walking the Bastion's halls. Acolytes who commit inexcusable acts during missions rarely see the light of day again either. And yet here we stand, both still breathing. You blame me for Master Detral's death too? Let's put all our cards on the table, right? I do not think in such terms. You made a choice that those who hold power over the sector must now live with. The past cannot be erased, nor can it be fought. The only option is to move forward. I agree. So the Cabal didn't put you to death after... I feel like the conversation has kind of run its course, but... so the Cabal didn't put you to death after all. I assume we'll be working together on equal footing now, since we're both acolytes. This is the ranking system of the Inquisition, right? You got the Lord Inquisitor up top, you got the Inquisitors, then you've got the Interrogators, and then you've got the Acolytes. I believe that's the tier list, as it were. I never said that. While you were recovering in the infirmary, the Lord Inquisitor reassigned my position within the Tyrantine Cabal structure. I've been given a new mission, and a new patron. Make no mistake, the Cabal hasn't revoked my sentence. By the Lord Inquisitor's decree, my execution has merely been stayed. If I can achieve redemption by completing the mission he has assigned to me, my life will be spared. For a little while longer, at least. Failed an awareness check here. Difficulty modifier of -30. So again, our skill is 50. I should have explained this earlier when we succeeded on a wits roll. But our skill is 50, which gives us a 50% chance to succeed. But the difficulty modifier is -30, which means we only have a 20% chance to succeed. our D100 that we rolled a 44, which is greater than 20%, and so we failed. Just breaking this down a little bit so you're aware of how dice rolling works in this system, I should say. Glancing at the chrono in his hand, Tuma loses what little interest he had in your conversation. Lord Inquisitor Zerb bade me inform you that he expects you in his work chambers 1 floor above. I would advise you not to tarry, unless you wish to forfeit your new patron's favor. You will not find a replacement for him. I should probably make my way over sooner rather than later, and I believe I might now be in full control of myself. Agency has been given to me. Yeah, it seems to be the case. Oh, lots of buttons to press up over here. God, this is, I mean, I'm not going to fiddle in somebody else's office, but this is such a gorgeous little room. The visuals... The visuals in this game are phenomenal. I mean, already in love. But let's make our way over. 1 floor above, was it? What do we have here? Our journal. The Storm Survivors. Following the mission aboard Schultes' Valor, Terminus Omega Warband was disassembled. For his controversial decision, which had severe consequences for the Holy Ordos, the acolyte was made to appear before the Tyrantine Cabal. He will have to labor to regain the Cabal's trust and atone for his mistakes through service. We have received our gear from Quartermaster Numis already. We must now report to Lord Inquisitor Zerb. Zerby? I'm not sure. I think Zerb sounds better than Zerby. I'm not sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Work chambers can be reached through a stepped passageway in the Bastion Serpentis Atrium. I'm going to spend the next 40 minutes looking for this thing, aren't I? Alright. We came from there. Let's head this way. Am I missing a... No. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing a marker or something somewhere. Can push through? Yes, we can. Speak to this man here. Until we receive orders stating otherwise, you're forbidden to wander around the bastion. Now go. Oh, okay. So, fairly confined quarters. And I was worried that we'd have access to the whole thing, and I'd have to find our new patron. Oh, this guy's strong. One-handing it. Again, folks, this is a beta, so you can expect a couple of visual glitches, some mechanics issues, things like that, right? So just do keep that in mind as we come across some of them. This is, yep, where we're headed. Let's go. Acolyte of the Inquisition Partilius, Ordo Hereticus. Access to the Lord Inquisitor's chambers is granted by virtue of meritorious service to the Holy Ordos. Make our way over. Much better lighting in this guy's quarters. Jesus, those guys are heavily armed. Partilius, former acolyte of the late Inquisitor Leander de Terral, has arrived, Lord Inquisitor. Several long minutes pass in absolute silence. Every now and then, whispers of flipped report pages break up the hush. Finally, the Lord Inquisitor closes the leather-bound folder and raises his eyes to you. The destruction of Sultus' valor, the death of Leander de Terral, the loss of the Iocanthos system. We live in dark times, rich in great losses. Anton Zerb's hand tightens around the report folder. Leander was convinced that the heretic Astartes were to blame for the destruction of the ship. You agreed with his conclusions. I have no reason not to believe you both, even if no solid evidence survived. But Leander is dead. The evidence has disappeared, and the words of potentially corrupted acolytes are lacking in credit. To force the Inquisitors to delay their affairs and redirect resources to fight a hidden enemy, one needs strong proof indeed. Proof that a blade has been raised over the capital of Calixis. You will do this. When you receive a new assignment, Study your surroundings and seek individual events which, when pieced together, will paint a picture of the lurking evil. Why should I have to prove anything? Isn't your word enough? Oh, it's a little too much. This guy has some self-awareness and sense of self-preservation. Your trust in our testimony is the highest honor, Lord Inquisitor. How can we be sure that the heretic Astartes have already infiltrated the Scintilla system? How can we be sure that they have not already infiltrated? Or make the sign of the Aquila. I will do all that is possible to complete this task. Maybe it's time for a bit of butter, right? A little bit of butter applied to the Lord Inquisitor might not be a bad idea. Your trust in our testimony is the highest honor, Lord Inquisitor. And I imagine he's not going to care for this smoke, right? But I gotta blow it anyway. Belief and trust are fundamentally different entities. Your reports are logical and align with the interrogation transcripts, and I believe what they say. But can I trust the narrator himself? Consider this question more often, even when you gaze into the mirror. Especially when you gaze into the mirror. Very well, how can we be sure that the heretic Astartes have already infiltrated the Scintilla system? Iocanthos is too small a target. Therefore, they will direct or have already directed their attention and forces to the capital world of a sector mired in warp storms. Very well. I will do all that is possible to complete this task. Again, I'm not stupid enough to say why should I have to prove anything. That much is self-evident, right? So, I will do all that is possible to complete this task. That is not enough, Acolyte. I expect you to go beyond the possible. The time has come when only this will allow humanity to prevail. Oof. You made me your acolyte while others blame me for the death of Master de Terral. Why, or what will happen to the Oraculum Noxus? I'm not sure who or what that is, but I'm more curious about myself. You made me your acolyte while others blame me for the death of Master de Terral. Why? Especially because I succeeded in that wits roll, right? That tells me there's going to be a cost here. For many years, Leander and I forged a path for humanity side by side through the infinite darkness. Even when our views on the pain of this galaxy changed, each of us continued to serve him unwaveringly. And just as Leander once paved the way to the future with the hands of his acolytes, you, Partilius, will become a new bearer of my will. Zerb removes his inquisitorial sigil from his neck and gives you a strange look. One who is incapable of sacrifice will never bring change. But you, Acolyte, have shown enough fortitude to do so. He thrusts out his hand and slowly reveals the sigil. Even if you must give up everything and everyone, even if it means losing your own humanity, do it to achieve our goal. You received an inquisitorial sigil, a symbol of authority, permitting an acolyte to act in the name of their inquisitor. Now, I can either say I'm an instrument of the Tyrantine Cabal's will in the eradication of heresy. Nothing will deter me from fulfilling this righteous service. I can say, if my humanity becomes the price for fulfilling the will of the Tyrantine Cabal, then I will gladly pay it. Or I can simply make the sign of the Aquila upon my chest and offer up a prayer. Again, leaning into our belief system here, right? If my humanity becomes the price for fulfilling the will... I feel like we're a bit more into self-preservation than this line would have us believe. However, I believe this is what he would say, if that makes sense. If my humanity becomes the price for fulfilling the will of the Tyrantine Cabal, then I will gladly pay it. And what will happen to the Oraculum Noxus? Just so I know what the hell's going on here. It is yet to be prepared for the sanctification ritual. When the servants cleanse the artifact with prayers and the tech litanies run their course, it will take its intended place in the Atrium Hall, where every servant of the Tyrantine Cabal will be able to watch and study it. Why does the Oraculum Noxus bear such importance to the Tyrantine Cabal? You have seen it at work aboard Schultus' Valor, but perhaps the memories are so painful that your mind refuses to accept them. Even before the cursed light of the Tyrant Star fell upon the world, the verdict, and you, the artifact had radiated a blinding glow, hadn't it? The Oraculum Noxus is nothing but a herald of inevitable tragedy, the rise of the spectral sun, the Hereticus Tenebrae. From now on, new catastrophes will not catch the Tyrant Cabal off guard, because of you and the sacrifice of de Terral. Oh, I guess that's the artifact that we've returned with, is what it sounds like. Nonetheless, Lord Inquisitor, are there any new assignments for me? Too many. The essence of the Hereticus Tenebrae has remained unknown to the Tyrantine Cabal for hundreds of years. Therefore, you will begin your own investigation of this phenomenon with a clean slate. Revisit every lead gathered by your predecessors, trace connections, and draw new conclusions. Start your research with a visit to the restricted section of the Bastion Serpentis archives. Now, we've been talking a lot about the Hereticus Tenebrae, so let's go ahead and just detail it a bit, right? The Tyrant Star. For those of you, again, that are unfamiliar with the Warhammer universe, an unidentified stellar phenomena also known as the Hereticus Tenebrae, Comus, and the Spectral Sun, whose manifestation in real space heralds devastating catastrophes. Each appearance of the Tyrant Star is accompanied by warp disturbances and surges of sorcery and mutation, as well as riots and rebellion. Although the Tyrant Star has been subject of extensive inquisitorial study for many decades, its true nature remains unknown. The Lord Inquisitor waves his hand, and the lumens flare in the eye sockets of the servo skulls hovering nearby. I am certain you recognize the servo ossuarium. The events aboard Schultes' Valor resulted in considerable damage to the device, but the tech priests managed to restore its functionality. Alas, the same cannot be said of the data from your last mission. I return de Terral's device to you. Use its full potential to carry out the mission entrusted to you. Is this little thing being escorted by these two other little things? Or are all three of these things one thing? For a few moments, Anton Zerb remains silent. Is there anything you have not shared with me yet? About Schultes' valor? About what happened to you when the spectral sun shone upon you? Speak. I will listen. So I can lie, say I told you everything I know, or, again, tell the truth. I saw something strange, an auditorium filled with strangers. Oh, that's the same truth as before. It's a little odd that the game doesn't recognize I've already told the truth, but I guess let's tell it again. Zerb says nothing at first. Then, I see. What did this figure want? I've chosen the path of truth, and so I stick with it. I'm unsure. It spoke of odd things, a shield against the darkness, the impotence of death, ashes that the Titan's heart would not see. This knowledge must remain between us, acolyte. Whether your vision was the delusion of a mind fractured by the Tyrant Star's influence or something else, there is more to learn. However, if any member of the Cabal doubts the purity of your thoughts or your free will, even I cannot shield you from execution. Remember this. For a while, the Golden Mask watches you in silence before Zerb returns at last to the reports folder. Acolyte, in addition to the high-priority tasks, you are to take on more mundane duties. Go to the Maris Portum Sectoris Hab Zone, located in the lower levels of Hive Sibyllus. Inquisitor Millicentilla and the Sister Septima have been conducting their investigations there for some time. I want you to render them any feasible assistance, acquiescently. It seems something has driven them to linger in the dark place. The Lord Inquisitor takes out an ornately embossed envelope and dismissively puts it aside. Afterward, head to the Lucid Palace and meet with Inquisitor Oleanthe Rathbone. She has obtained intelligence that some heretic cell plots to assassinate a high-ranking figure during the celebrations of Saint Sibelius. There's no conclusive evidence that these heretics exist at all. Indeed, this situation appears to be nothing more than the typical squabbles of the aristocracy, and the Holy Ordos do not waste time on such trivialities. However, there remains a slim chance that this rumor somehow relates to the activity of the traitor Astartes. That is why I'm sending you to take the measure of things. Jeez, that's a lot of assignments. So many assignments. Is the Tyrantine Cabal short-staffed? You told me to find information on the Tyrant Star in the Bastion archives, but what exactly am I looking for? Am I to prevent the assassination attempt in the spires? I could ask about the Inquisitors. I can ask about the areas I've been asked to investigate. Okay, first, you told me to find information on the Tyrant Star in the Bastion archives, but what exactly am I looking for? Find Chronicle Keeper Bloodworth. His post is located in the Archivum Serpentis. He will guide you to the most important sources of information about the Tyrant Star. Very well, and am I to prevent the assassination attempt in the spires? I do not care whether another Lucidian soldier or priest dies. Even if the tyrant star lit up the sky over Scintilla right now, each of them would keep gnawing at each other's throats, if only to satisfy their depraved egos in the moments before death. And even when, in this senseless commotion, someone finally devours the weakest, their place will be immediately taken by a successor. The task of the Inquisition is not to save those who consider themselves the chosen of humanity. Our task is to use those who wrongly believe themselves chosen in the name of humanity's salvation. Thus, even if this heretic cell turns out to be a figment, use this opportunity to remind Scintilla's elite that in the eyes of the Holy Ordos, none are guiltless. Alright, and what manner of place is this Maris Portum Sectoris? I've never heard of it. One of the decaying hab zones of the lower levels, forgotten by the Ecclesiarchy, Magistratum, and perhaps by the God Emperor himself. In recent months, Maris Portum has been drowning in seaquakes. If you hesitate, you will stand a very real chance of seeing nothing but an endless, toxic sea that has swallowed all life. Alright, and what exactly are Inquisitor Millicentilia and Sister Septima doing in the lower levels of the Hive? I assume the details will be shared with you in Maris Portum, if they deem it necessary. And Inquisitor Oleanthe Rathbone, who is she? As my acolyte, you should be more informed on the active members of the Tyrantine Cabal from now on. Oleanthe Rathbone is currently undertaking a mission on Scintilla, acting as the voice of the Holy Ordos. She is capable of persuading even those who usually only accept the language of force to cooperate. Let her use you if it serves the mission, but do not even think to trust her. Understood. You will need a warband. Acolyte Spes and Davos are currently finishing an inspection in the infirmary. You already know them. As for Acolyte Saro, who will replace Acolyte Shriek as a sanctioned psyker, he can most likely be found in the Temple Hall. Use them as you see fit. Now, go. And remember, Acolyte, time is not on our side. Results, not excuses. That is what I expect from you. I like it. I like him. I like the setup. I like the current situation at hand. And I like this as the end of this episode. Folks, we've been given our assignments. We've met our new boss. And we're about to get the team together. Feels like this is a good time to call it a day. And we're obviously going to have a few more episodes because this isn't going to be our only exposure to the beta. I want to show you guys how combat works. I want to show you guys how our psychic abilities work, so on and so forth. So you can expect a couple more episodes, but I might space them out a little bit. I am currently out of country, actually, when this episode releases. So I'm probably sort of planning my, my schedule accordingly to make sure that we can have some consistency. And when I return from my little trip, I'm able to pick the ball back up and keep things going consistently for, again, at least a few, maybe a handful of episodes. Y'all let me know in the comments down below if you would, in fact, like to see more of the Dark Heresy beta on the channel. Again, don't hesitate to hit that like button as well if you're enjoying what you're seeing so far, because it does give me a quick read on what people want more of on the channel. With that said, keep your eyes peeled for the next episode. Hopefully it'll release within a week's time or so. Depends entirely on how many of these episodes I can record before my flight leaves, literally later today. Folks, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.